Already done. Welcome, Roger.
Hello,
How you
Khalil.
doing?
I am fantastic. Thank you, sir. And you?
This has been a wonderful, you know, few sessions before, and we enjoyed every one of them so far. And so far, we were talking about coaching or whatever the coach is being curious. Just people are being curious in order to really go into coaching. Now, if I'm considering coaching, I have one definite issue that comes up many times, and that is, well, I'm interested. I'm interested in somebody, and questions, but I hesitate to ask them. And how do I break ice? How do I start a conversation that's meaningful and it doesn't lead somebody to go into a shell immediately? So how do I manage that?
Sure. Well, there's a couple of, and I think this is a fantastic topic, by the way. There's a couple of ways in. The first one is to talk about the difference between a person who's going to be curious in a relationship and leverage a conversation, a meaningful conversation, and do so in a context where it doesn't seem aggressive and does not cause the person to, wave off that opportunity, but actually to be fascinated and absolutely interested. And then the second one is coaches do it with clients. And so let me answer this. Let me speak to the second one first, and then the first one, and then I hope you'll kick in because you're such a fantastic coach. With our Circle of Life coaching system, there's an absolutely definitive, easy, fun way into a discussion that basically brings the curiosity into a systematic approach to ask people how satisfied they are with certain aspects of their life. It's a very powerful way to launch a coaching relationship. Let's go to the first idea, which is anybody in any kind of a circumstance leveraging a meaningful relationship. That could be with our family, with our coworkers. It could be like a pickup strategy for single people. There's all kinds of ways that we do find ourselves in conversations that could be, shall we say, have some tension around them because we either don't know the person or because we do know the person and we're in a situation where we want to smooth things and move the discussion in a meaningful way. And so the classic, of course, is ask questions that people find interesting and fun to answer. So we wouldn't say, what's your problem? Although there are a lot of people who like to answer that question. But if you're going to pick somebody up as a single person, no, you wouldn't have a problem. And if it's a family member and you're trying to navigate your way through a complex circumstance, you wouldn't say, what's your problem either. If you were a doctor, you might say, what's your problem? But then more recently, doctors don't talk like that. They talk about, what do you want to achieve in your life? And so that is the most powerful question, is what do you want? So let's imagine that you're in a social situation and you'd like to leverage a conversation with someone who might become a future coaching client, or who might become a future girlfriend or boyfriend, or who might become a future collaborator to a particular project that you're innovating on and looking for collaborating partners. And the question is, what do you want? It's kind of like, but we might not say it exactly like that, but I want to say it that way because it really gives us a feeling about, as a child, not everybody in every culture has this experience, but many people do. And and many people from other cultures uh, imagine this and have seen movies about this. And that's the whole moment when you're a child and you're sitting on Santa Claus's lap, and Santa Claus said, you know, what do you want? And it's, I mean, who wouldn't love to have somebody who is really interested in you ask the question, what do you want? And isn't it amazing that how willing we would be to just go, oh yeah, like, well, yes, I love that question. You know, here's what I want. And, you know, and I actually, I probably don't have a very good plan for it. So if you're a coach and you're looking for clients, when you ask people the what do you want type questions, they just come closer and closer because they sense that you're curious about them in a way that suggests that you actually know how to support them in getting what they want. So, but that's not so much the issue of for coaching. Let's just keep it casual and friendly, because anybody who ever would become a coach can investigate how interesting and fun it is to be in a relationship with a person who has an aspiration. And so let's imagine we're at a party and you're not going to say to the person, what do you want? But you could say something like this, you know, hi, good to meet you. My name's Roger. And I come to these, when I come to these parties, my big fascination is the fact that there's so many interesting people in the world. And I'm wondering about you. What are you working on? What are you hoping to make happen? What's the cutting edge in your work or your relationships or the art that you do, or would you be willing to share? I think, to me, that would be it's a disarming approach. It suggests that you're interested, and when you come to parties, you're just interested in meeting people and finding out what it is that they are brinking on. You know, what is the juicy edge of their life? What do you think? What do you think about? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I love it. I love what you just said was that people in general, they are interested in themselves more than they're interested in you or anybody else for that matter. And so what I was hearing you say is that you're asking them about their interest or their what they want. And the one thing that you really said very interestingly is to open up their dream. Like you said, the Santa Claus, the child sitting in Santa Claus' lap, it just opened up for me a little vision that that's a dream. You're opening up a dream sequence. And what that does in reality is it, you also use the word disarm. Disarm means, I mean, they don't see obstacles anymore. They're just saying, oh, wow, if world were a perfect place, what would I want? If Santa Claus has a magic wand, let's say, you know, if I had a magic wand, that's the exact scenario that you started by asking in that fashion. And you're right. What do you want is a little bit of more, straightforward question, but how. So in reality, the what the person is, many times the person already is achieved. So wow, you know, what are some of the things you really achieved, like you said, achieved, or what are you good at? What ticks your, you know, ticks your, passion? The passion is what we're going for. What are you passionate about nowadays, or what really excites you?
Yes,
Let's
yes,
talk
yes,
about
yes.
something that excites you. And so then it takes away the little guard that is there, because now the person is really basically talking about himself or herself. And
Yes. And you know, you're not doing the thing that sometimes happens is uh, when people meet, the person who's sort of directing the conversation leverages that conversation by talking about themselves. And
Oh,
that's a whole lot less compelling.
right.
And the other person might ask, you know, a coach would ask. And when you get in a little bit further, one of the things you can say is, in a very curious and non-judgmental sort of way, you know, something like, wow, that's fascinating. You're working on a new something, and some kind of a new application, some kind of a new art project, some kind of a new business, or you're refining and nuancing what's already in play. So then, an interesting question to ask is: have you been able to determine what is, you know, shall we say, holding you up? That's not the first question. You know, that just doesn't work as the first question. But when
Yeah,
that person gets rolling and they feel your fascination with their cutting edge and the juicy, passionate part of their life, then when you formulate a next question that's a little bit more penetrating, you have to be cautious. And but it's so much fun to be able to develop uh, these kinds of strategies in social circumstances and with family, because it really, when you do it really, when
yeah,
you over time develop the capacity to do it fairly well, and you get the sort of very, very subtle methodology for remaining curious
right,
and not offering advice.
right.
So, you know, when you ask the question, what's the, you know, what do you think is holding things up? That's
Yeah,
still not advice.
yeah, yeah. I would have to say to you that you're right about what's holding you up is a little bit of a detailed question. I'm going to rephrase that if you don't mind. I was
Yeah,
going to
please. I
rephrase
like that.
I was going to rephrase that as saying, how is it going for you? So, I mean, there are two options. It's going very well, or we have a situation. But if the answer is very well and the face lights up, you know, one of the things I have often seen people do, and I like it, is celebrate with them.
Mm,
Yeah. Wow.
yes.
So what that would do is it creates an emotional connection. As soon
I
as you have
like
a passion and
I like
emotional connection, now you're on the same page. Now, whether you go further or not doesn't matter, but the person will go with an idea. Wow, he liked what I said. He liked what I'm doing. And so at least you have a rapport building at certain level, whatever that level is. And so I would have to say that in conversations, I like to enjoy a person celebrating me. If somebody celebrates me, wow, isn't that something? I will never forget his face. I'll never forget his question.
Mm-hmm.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, these are a
Yeah.
couple of little things, and you know, we can talk more about it. But I think I appreciate you, you know, getting this into the whole scenario, and we'll dig into more further because this is a very fascinating topic about conversation. How do you turn it around and all that? So,
You know, just before we close out, one of the things that we find with training coaches,
mhm,
that almost always the people that we train as coaches are amazed at, number one, how simple and interesting it can be, but
right,
also how it really reframes the whole process of how a person can be in business or uh, uh, be cultivating a new feature of their professional portfolio by just simply being interested,
right,
and I mean immensely interested,
hmm,
in people, and having a pretty simple, straightforward process for supporting them in actually weaving through the city of their life, with a lot of, I'm not going to say hopefulness because I think intentfulness is a more powerful word, to be someone who finds it interesting to use these kinds of approaches with our family and friends, we could just as easily use these same ideas with our coworkers, and we could even develop a clientele doing these kind of things.
That's
So
very true.
yeah, let's get together again. This is always a lot of fun.
Thanks, Roger. Thank you very much.